washed by the waves of one sea into different lands we call cultures. Have you ever wondered if you were destined by a different wave? Wonder with me, close your eyes and let your heart tremble. Let your soul move to different sounds of cultures. I'll take you there.
Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door.
American, even we don't want. The UNITAF is crazy. We don't want to see UNITAF in our country.
Benjamin Bates came here in 1847, and this was before we were a city, and wanted to build a textile mill. What he really built was a city and a community. As the mill grew, the city grew. As the mill prospered, so did our community. In 1950, the city of Lewiston was the single largest employer in the state of Maine, or I should say the Bates Mill was the single largest employer in the state of Maine, with 5,000 employees and a very prosperous textile business. In the 60s and 70s, the mill started to decline, and as the mill declined, so did the condition or the prosperity of our town. And today, unfortunately, the mill no longer operates here. It closed down for good, and it's been a very difficult transition to go from a very prosperous town only 50 years ago to a town that is struggling to stay afloat. The Franco-American community is a very hardworking, very proud community. We've suffered what, in my opinion, is a decline in self-esteem.
We worked hard to change our reputation and our perception. We worked hard to grow our economy. We created thousands of jobs, so the economy was good. People felt good about living here. We came into the year 2002. We were at a very positive place here in the city of Lewiston.
This is a community, it's a proud community. This is a community that people who choose to live here absolutely love the fact that they live here.
I woke up one morning and was told there were 200 Somali residents in our community that hadn't been there, a week before.
It was truly unbelievable.
There was a lot of misunderstanding on why they were here, why they came here.
Those Somalis are evil. I mean, they killed Americans. They have to all be bad.
Black Hawk Down, people being dragged down the street.
There were two Maine boys.
One of the men that died was from Lisbon, which is the next town over.
The young kid that grew up in this area probably had a job somewhere in this community.
What happened to those soldiers, it was a great tragedy. It should not have happened.
The people here hadn't forgotten that. I mean, it made a real impression when it happened in '93.
And when you cross over the Lisbon-Lewiston line, you see a big sign that says the Staff Sergeant Thomas Field Memorial Highway. So every day somebody drives across that line to go down to the #1 employer for this area, Bath Iron Works. They have a daily reminder that one of our local boys died over in Somalia.
This is post-September 11, and the Somalis show up immediately after September 11.
The press have referred to it as the Somali invasion.
All these Islam are terrorists, and now they see the Somalis who's coming here. It's also part of that. I'm trying to say there's a linkage here.
Everybody, after those attacks, terrorist attacks, was looking at the world differently and through different perspectives.
I went to a wedding, for instance, and no one there would talk to me because they found out I worked with Somalis.
It's just unbelievable how, the discrimination that we're facing as a Muslim community.
The Somalis are Muslim.
Islam was not practiced here previously.
And black.
We're a Franco-American heritage mostly. We haven't seen a lot of people of color.
We have a 97% white ratio.
We live in the whitest state in the nation, so there are some definite differences that made it obvious that there were new people in our community.
The Somalis did not have the choice to come to the United States.
They left behind the dead body of their own relatives, their children, their fathers.
بصورة هناك كانوا قتل بدون أي شيء بس إنك لست نفس القبيلة بس. بعدين أنا كنت محبوس وكان أخي يعني كورنيل قتلوه هناك ضابط كبير وأولاده كله من البيت وأخذوني أنا. عندما أخذوني أنا مع هذه رصاصتين كده ضربوني وحبسوني هناك.
If they want to commit genocidal warfare against each other, so be it. Let them. That's less mouths for us to feed out of our taxpayers and all of our charities to go to.
These people has been brought to here by the U.S. government as refugees.
Or they've been settled in a black community in Atlanta, Georgia.
When you came from war, you know the pain of the war and what you go through, and then unfortunately coming to this country, and you have been put in a certain area where itself it's a crisis going on. There is actually civil war itself within the United States.
Your head has been stuck in a gun. It just gives a wallet.
U.S. government, brought these people to this country into safety area, and they have been put to an area where the drugs is running high, the shooting is spreading nightly. Basically, another warfare.
Why we're risking this area? We don't even know our children whether they are learning or using drugs.
There was a nightly curfew, basically that you have, gangs running to these projects, and when you call the police, there is no single police will show up unless they come like an army, like 20 or 30 police.
So a message was being sent around. Some Somali, 5, 6 Somalis was being sent around the states to look for a good place that they can live and raise their children.
Why would you come to Lewiston, Maine in the middle of winter? Like, it's cold and it's snowing and it's awful. And he just looked at me and said, it's a better place to raise our families.
Compared to where we came from, Lewiston is a heaven.
Born and raised in Newark, New Jersey, and came here to Lewiston to go to a small college called Bates College, and opened a small business while I was a student at Bates, working my way from school. And 32 years later, they made me the mayor and state senator, and now it's home.
My mother's father and mother came from Chassin, right outside of Beirut. They immigrated to Waterville, Maine, and they worked in the mill.
When my mother lived in New York, she was married to a multiracial gentleman, Chinese, Hispanic, not a real nice guy. This guy is just, he's not good for my mother, he's not good for me. My brother and I were the only white kids when we lived in the South Bronx. We lived in the Hispanic section of the South Bronx, and we went to a parochial school that was all black.
Whatever issues they had with my race and being different, obviously they got over it because they kept bringing their children to me saying, my gosh, I want my children to follow your footsteps. They give a person like me a chance. Would I have had this chance anywhere else? I think it would be more difficult, to say the least.
My grandfather had a store in the early 20s. Raised on a small family budget and business with the great ethnic diversity that was part of Hancock Street.
Which means basically blacks, Asians, Somalians, some Arabics, but whites won't live there because they will not lower their living standards.
My grandmother on Sundays used to sit in the kitchen, and she would take these laundry bags and she would be filling it with clothing, and she'd be filling it with other types of things that she'd be sending back home.